Give it. Yep.
Hi, everyone. This is Rick here, longtime health coach with HMR. I'm joined tonight by fellow health coach Jennifer. Hey, Jen.
Hey, everybody.
As you can see, we are joined by Charlie and Sharon. Hi, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited about this conversation that we're about to have. We are 2 weeks into the national eating season. Oh boy, that kicks off right around Halloween, and there are lots of challenges, obviously lots of food temptations, and everyone's obviously very busy, more and more so during this time of year. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us and to be with our Facebook Live community. So thanks again for being here. Hey, Jen, why don't you shine a little praise on our guests to start off here?
Yes, and we do have folks joining us already. We have Pam and Howard from Pikeville, Kentucky,
Great.
and so Vicky, and also Tyrone. So really glad that we already have so many folks joining us, and I see Shane is on too. So
Hey, Shane. Hey, brother.
yeah.
Hey, Sandy.
Shane, you know Sharon through the pages here. Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
I couldn't be more excited to be introducing and talking about Sharon and Charlie tonight, and our just for our HMR community to get the opportunity to hear your story. And I know when Rick and I spoke to them on Friday, it was just such a great reminder. And we're reminded of this all the time on this Facebook page in our community, but just really hearing just their experience and their journey, just really, I'm getting goosebumps now, but it just reminds me of why we're doing this work and why we do this work each and every single day. And I think, Rick, I can say the same for you.
Totally.
So for Charlie, just a little tidbit, which I'm not going to give it all away because he's going to share a lot of what he has done in his journey. But Charlie has lost over 100 pounds, 101 pounds. And he's done our phone program with our very own coach, Bill. And he's been in the program for about 2 years now. And with Sharon, she's also in the phone program with Coach Bill. So I know Coach Bill getting lots of, props. I know you guys partake and talked about the group so eloquently on Friday. And so I know it's just so great to have you guys from Coach Bill's group. And one thing that's really nice to acknowledge about the both of you is that you have been managing this weight over, a period of time. So tonight, not only we're going to hear from Sharon and Charlie about their success and their experience with the HMR program, but we're also going to hear how they feel going into the upcoming holiday, as well as how they've handled the holiday seasons in the past, because you all both had that experience with being in phase 1 and also in phase 2 with keeping up healthy behaviors and even trying to stay in the box in phase 1. So you guys are in for a treat tonight with Charlie and Sharon.
And people who are watching, Jen, are psyched about it. Shane just said, Charlie and Sharon, super stoked to hear about your stories. And hello, Barbara from Texas, and Bob, one of our regulars from Rancho Cucamonga, Katie, Tara, Lori, Kendall, Tanya, and Kate, our fellow health coach. Kate is here as well from Massachusetts. So great. We have more and more people tying in to join us in this conversation, guys. So we're pretty psyched about it. Hey, Jen, you mentioned the conversation that we had last Friday with Charlie and Sharon. And guys, I think we all kind of laughed at the end. We laughed during the whole conversation. It was just a blast. Mm-hmm. And so we're sort of hoping to revisit some of the things that you guys shared with us last Friday. But one of the things that Jen and I really took away from that conversation, just sort of higher level, was you guys are such champions of the program. Like, you've really worked the program methods into your lives in a way that is just so impressive and really has worked very well for you. You both are very successful in managing your weight. So thanks again for taking the time to take us into your lives a little bit. Hey, Sharon, you in some of the communications since Friday, you've sort of shared on by way of email that you're kind of looking forward to being here tonight. Can I just ask you, like, why? Why are you excited to be here and talking with the Facebook Live community on actually being on the screen as opposed to posting comments like you normally do?
Well, I'm really excited because I want to share the hope that if you're not feeling hopeful right now, trust me, there is hope in this program. And I will talk a little bit about that. But
Absolutely.
this program is absolutely the program of all programs. And as you hear my story, I've done it all. But I will say I have never ever gone back up to where I was 2008 since joining the HMR program. And I have lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds, and I have gained over 100 pounds multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And this program, not even. So that's the
great.
reason.
It's great, Sharon. You're just so inspiring. Charlie, in fact, you even said it in our conversation last Friday. You were like, part of this program, we'll get to this a little bit more. Jen, you alluded to it, but part of what you appreciate is the support that you get here at HMR. And you even acknowledged, Sharon, in that conversation, the very informal conversation the four of us had, that hearing her speak is part of what you value, being in your group and part of the community yourself. So are you excited to be here and talk about your experience? So what's your take?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it just happened now when Sharon talked about hope.
Right.
It just happened to me again. That's what I get. And so today I had my group today with Bill.
Yes.
And at noon, and Bill said to the group that I would be here tonight and share my whatever he called it. But the truth is, what I have to share is what I've learned from my group and what I've learned from my coach. I don't have anything original. I was an abject failure before I came here, as far as not in my life in general, but it losing weight or maintaining it. And so what has happened to me that you talked about, Rick, is from HMR.
That's great. Beautifully said, Charlie. That's awesome. Jen, I don't know if you want to, I'm going to represent just a couple of people who are specifically saying hello to Sharon from Long Beach, California. Hi, Sharon. I remember seeing you in the Irvine program, Iris. And UCI loves Sharon, University of California, Irvine. I hear, hi, Grandma.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, and then someone else saying, hey, that's my mother, Danielle.
Oh my gosh!
Yes. You've got some fans out there. Fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
Really good. And Pam just acknowledged, Charlie, what you just said, which was, yes, it works. HMR has saved my life. Really good. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay. So just a little bit more, really the nuts and bolts of tonight, really the goods, if you will, is we do want to talk about the holidays. This won't be the last time that we talk about going through the holidays with momentum, in the driver's seat with your choices, your lifestyle choices. So tonight starts it, last week started it, and then this tonight, and then we'll revisit this through the holidays. Charlie, a little bit more about your history before HMR so people can just get to know you. You don't need to belabor it, but you really hit on quite a few highlights about you have a history of working on your weight. Just share some of those, and then also what it was like losing weight with HMR. And then Sharon, I'll ask you the same thing.
Yeah. So I mentioned the other day, I grew up on a farm, and when you grow up on a farm like I did, you actually have to burn you have to eat a lot to maintain weight. So I grew up being able to eat a lot. But I already had an image of myself as being heavy. But I look back at pictures and I wasn't. So I think there was something even going on back then. But nevertheless, what happened was I was able to gain a lot of weight when I no longer worked on the farm, and it came on gradually through college and everything else. But I tried everything so that I could think of to try. I had success with some things like Atkins. was successful for me. And I'm not going to badmouth any program at
No,
all. You know,
no.
that's not what I'm doing. I'm only talking about me. But with that, I learned to eat jars of mayonnaise, and so when I did that, I put on weight. And so I mean, I could go through all of those things. I ended up getting a gastric band, and again, it achieved what they said that it would achieve. I lost about 40 pounds, and that's the lower limit of what that can do. So it was not a failure. It was
Right.
actually a success.
Mhm.
But what happened was I found a way to dump ice cream through that, you know,
Mhm. Yep.
and so HMR was something I had been on before, and it had remarkable success. But I moved from where I was living in Philadelphia to Rochester and got off of HMR at that point. And that was actually in 2008, Sharon, that I did that. And so I knew HMR had been successful in a different way than any of these other things had done.
Mm.
And I was getting ready to go on a trip to Italy with a dear friend of mine, which I'd been on before. And there's a lot of walking in that trip. It's a great tour. And I appreciate Sharon's background in Italy there.
Yes.
But it's a great tour. And I knew I had to do something to deal with my weight, because I would never be able to do with the amount of walking. And I wanted to be with my friend. So I got on HMR. I didn't really want to do it, but I got on HMR, and the trip had to be canceled. And when the trip got canceled, I'd been on HMR long enough at that point that I wanted to stay on HMR, because what HMR does for me, it in spite of the fact that I feel like I can't possibly be doing what I need to do to lose weight. I can't possibly be enjoying this food this way and feeling full like this
Yeah.
and lose weight. In spite of the scale goes down. And
Yeah.
then what I started to experience was the health benefits. My exercise, when you carry as much weight as I was carrying, you have some musculature underneath that.
Mhm.
So when you lose the weight, you actually can climb stairs easily, you know, because you've developed leg muscles and things like that. So I started experiencing those kinds of things. And then in my group, I mean, there was all kinds of, I call it spiritual stuff. I don't mean religion, but all these wonderful, compassionate people around me, all
Mm.
these people who are so, and I've learned so much there. So, I mean, I could go on for the rest of the hour, but I won't, because
Great.
the message is really what Sharon talked about.
So great, Charlie. So great, so generous. Yeah, really, really good. Very hopeful too, to come back to Sharon, how you led your comments tonight were with hope. I would be remiss, Jen. I know you're looking at the feed too. Bob Garrison. I've been in many weight loss programs. HMR is the only one where I have felt hope. So Sharon, to your point, really wonderful. Thanks so much, Charlie, for that. That was a great summary of what it was like before HMR and then leading into HMR. We're going to come back to you on that. Sharon, a little bit from you on that. Pre-HMR.
So pre-HMR, as a kid, I had a weight problem. I don't know if any of you remember Sears. Sears, they
Oh,
had
yeah.
the chubby clothes. So it was so embarrassing that that's where I would have to shop, was in this chubby, and I can't even remember, Huskies or whatever. It was something belittling if you were overweight. And so as I grew up, I continued to have a weight problem. And I started in 75 with the injections. That was really popular at that time. I did Jenny Craig, I did Nutrisystems, Optifast 3 times, and lost 100 pounds and put it right back on. And then I decided, oh, let's get the stomach stapling. So in 1984, I had my stomach stapling. Worst thing, because I weighed in, I'm 5 feet. I weighed in at 250 pounds.
At 5 feet.
At 5 feet.
Even, right.
And I lost maybe 30 to 40 pounds. That was it. Because I learned how to eat, continue to eat.
Mm.
And so it continued yo-yo, yo-yo. And so in 2008, I had a Bible study that was going on, and I had given the ladies a gift bag, each of them. And every week I was praying, ask for prayer. Oh, please give me the willingness to stop eating. Oh,
Yeah.
please give me the willingness, but I would continue to go get the chips. And so anyway, the next week, one of the ladies brought me the gift bag back, the same one that I had given her, and there was a card, HMR card, and unbeknownst to me, she worked for the internist who was the director of the HMR program that I eventually went to. Now, I didn't want to, since I had asked for prayer, and here's, this prayer, be careful what you pray for. I thought, okay, so I called, and then the day before, 2 days before, they called me and they go, oh, we have to go back east to Boston to a conference. So the day that I was going to come in for orientation, they were going to need to be leaving. So that meant I had to come in another day. Well, I didn't want to chance it. So I came in and I thought, oh, I walked in, I'm like, oh no, another diet. And so, but you know what happened? There, as I talked about hope, for the first time, I actually believed there was hope. And that's what did it for me. And because I didn't want to make any decisions, I know me, I can overeat on anything. I decided in the clinic to do decision free. And
So
at that
just
time,
all meal replacements, no
all meal replacements, 3+2, 3 shakes, 2 entrees, no, at that time, no cereal at all. So that's all you had. So I actually lost all of my weight. I stayed in the box. I did everything that they told me to do. I attended the meetings, everything. So I'll talk a little bit more about how you are, quote unquote, successful in the HMR program and what that tells.
Yeah, well, I really want to hear that from both of you. Jen, are you watching the feed?
Oh my goodness. So many folks are joining us, and I know you mentioned Bob, and Shane was talking about Charlie to go ahead and preach it. And Nancy, thanking you, Charlie, for your comments and your words, and just so many great things about the group. And Pam, whether you're in Pam was mentioning the groups, everybody's together to help each other, and it's not judgmental. And whether you're in a clinic program class or in our at-home phone classes, or even in the Facebook community, you just get this sense of support and non-judgment. And so Nancy also just saying some great things, and Marilyn, that HMR is great and it treats the person. So I know we've talked about how, some people, they're volume eaters and they want to change that. Well, why change it? You don't have to change if you're a volume eater. You can change what the volume is. Or if you're a night eater, like I know I've mentioned this in the past, like I eat in the middle of the night. That may not change, but what I eat can absolutely change. So it is true that we do treat the person. So you all don't have to change. We're just kind of changing what it is that you're eating.
Jen, I want to just add in, so Charlie and Sharon, there are a lot of people with experience, of course, who are joining us tonight for this conversation, which is fabulous. And then they're being very vocal through the comments, which is great. But I also just want to put a stake in the ground around There is someone here, forgive me, I want to get your name right. It's either Negan or Negan, who said hi and said simply day 2.
My God,
Day 2.
wonderful.
So we're going to, Negan, forgive me, we're going to have some suggestions for you, and take the wisdom that you'll hear here and within the space of the comments from people who are working the program to realize their goals. And as you've heard, for many people that they weren't able to realize with other approaches or other programs before. So glad you're here, Negan. And Haley, thank you for saying hi. It's great to see that you're here. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And all right, great. Let's turn our attention then to the matter at hand. Again, the holidays. For me, Halloween is a holiday. I love Halloween. And that, again, is the kickoff of the national eating season. But now we've got the real holidays approaching. Jen, this is not an easy time, is it? We talk about this so much on staff. To say a little bit more about the challenges, and Sharon and Charlie, you can add in here.
Yeah, and I know right now we're in a different time with what's going on with COVID, but there are still going to be things that, people are going to get together with maybe their smaller groups. But even as a mom, going through Halloween and having Thanksgiving, you want things to be special. And that tends to come with the traditional foods and the higher calorie treats. And, so the food in itself and the traditions are challenging, but also, just people and kind of their comments can be challenging too, of what you're doing so differently from what, is traditional to do around the holidays, because right now people aren't really talking and thinking about dieting, or if they are, they're not considering staying on their diet on the holiday. But we have different, expectations, and we know what's possible. So there's just so many things. And our culture really has kind of set us up to make it so hard. But yeah, and so Charlie, I know you were talking about some of the challenges, but also some of the advantages that you've been able to get from the HMR program. But anything else to add in about what's specifically challenging about the holidays for you, or what has been challenging in the past?
I think one of the best things that happened to me, honestly, and it just occurred to me now, was that my first holiday season, I was in phase 1. And I didn't deviate from phase 1. And I had already been in it since probably October, and had enough knowledge and enough connection with my group that they could support me in some things. There's this recipe that HMR has for mushrooms, and it's mushrooms with some soy sauce and one of the rice entrees. Not rice. It's a rice, but it's got I can't think of what it is now.
Mushroom risotto, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. So so I made those things, and people loved them. So did I. And I had something that was part of the appetizer thing, which is where everybody's standing around and eating, stuff. And I had something there that I could eat. And that was really important. But I didn't. And then I brought my entree and stuff to the first celebration, and just ate that, and plenty of vegetables and all the things that I liked. And more stuff than I could possibly have eaten in that time. So I didn't have to feel like there wasn't going to be enough. But that phase 1 first holiday was really important for me to go through that, because then I learned that it can work. You can feel good, and you can have enough to eat and enjoy it. But then the next one was, we'd moved me into phase 2 because I was getting ready to go on to a cruise, and I needed to know how to eat on that cruise and stay in a phase 2 box because I wouldn't have access. So when we did that, then I went to that celebration, and they had filet mignon, and that's a lean cut of beef. Maybe I didn't need to eat the whole thing, but I could eat some of it, and I could have the baked potato with the people. I ate the same food that they did, and I stayed in the HMR 1, 2, and 3, probably no further, maybe even 1 and 2.
Low calorie foods, right?
Yeah, and so, but it was my group. that made all that possible because they told me how to do it. Bill told me how to do it. My coach told me how to do all of that stuff. And all I did was do it. And now the holidays are such that it's not like I am cavalier. I know that there's a risk there. That's not what I mean. But I
Right.
now have experience with a couple of them to know that if I do what I'm supposed to, what I want to do, let me put it that way, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to have plenty to eat and I'm going to have good food. So it's kind of like I'm in another program for addiction where we say you can't think your way into sober living. You have to live your way into sober thinking. I've done enough of the HMR to live my way into knowing that it works, but it's all with that group and stuff that I can't emphasize how important, overemphasize how important that group is to me. They're compassionate. They help me. It's just awesome.
It's great. It's great. You know, what comes to mind, Jen, when I hear Charlie say that and Sharon, it's like you get out of it what you put into it. And if there's one thing that's clear talking to you, and, you know, I could probably say this for everyone who's, you know, making comments here on the page, a lot of commitment. And when you are committed to something and you have a program that sort of points you in the right direction, practicing a science-based and evidence-based approach to things that really work, boy, the results can be extraordinary. So I'll just acknowledge, Charlie, you touched on it, this whole idea of being able to eat a lot of food. Jen, I know you wanted to ask Charlie, there's so many people have sort of picked up on that theme here around being a volume eater, sharing Pam, volume eater here. She raises her hand. More is better, works. We hear that from Bob as well. My favorite thing about HMR is that I can still be a volume eater and still lose weight. Wow. Boy, I hope Negan, I hope you're hearing that. You can give yourself permission to eat more of the foods in the box, to stay in the box, and the weight will come off. Sharon, what would you say about that?
Well, I want to go back to when I first joined HMR. I was still working. And for people that are working, I traveled a lot. And I had dinners with clients. I was away from home, but what I did, the thing that I did, I was prepared. I planned. I brought my HMR foods with me. I bought a mini blender, so I had my blender. When I stayed at a hotel, I always checked to see if there was a microwave in the hotel. So these are things that I did. If I went on a trip, I remember one time going to this hotel and you would have thought they had a microwave in the room. They did not. And I had my mother with me. I went to Walmart and I bought a microwave and I brought it back and I put the microwave in the room with me so I would have access to the microwave. So then that year, I celebrated my 60th birthday, fully catered birthday cake, did not have any of it. Prime ribs, I mean, just all kinds of food. And I enjoyed what I enjoyed. I enjoyed the social aspect of the event. Previously, food was the event. So it's a mindset of, I realized I really enjoyed my family. I really enjoyed my friends because I wasn't focused on all of the eating. So fast forward, what can I say about the holidays? I'm going to tell you two perspectives. I'm going to tell you.
This is great, Sharon. I have to make sure you hit on this. This is wonderful. Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you that all the time, except one time, I've gone through the holidays in the box. The one time, which was in 2018, I decided that I was just going to have a little something. I was going on a cruise and I was going to be celebrating my girlfriend's 70th birthday. And you know how you say, well, I'm just going to do it for like 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what happened?
Right.
It turned into 7 months and 50 pounds later. So that was my experience. So why is it important to stay in the box? Whatever your box is. You know, some people, they're on healthy solutions. Some people are on decision free. Some people are on phase 2. But plan whatever your box is. And that is the main thing, planning.
Mhm.
And,
Yep, that's cool.
and so what happened? Do you know how hard it is to lose 50 to 60 pounds? So that's what happened. I had to go. And what I did,
Yeah.
I decided I went back. I was in phase 2. I went back to phase 1. I went back to decision free because that's what worked for me. I did it in the clinic. And I stayed in the box. And let me tell you, that information, I think one day at a time, I don't think I'll ever go back and want that experience, because it was a dark period. I'm going to share something with you. I suffer from major depressive disorder. So when I start eating, I go down a dark rabbit hole. And so to come back out, there's no light, none whatsoever. And maybe some of you can relate to that.
People can relate to that, Sharon. Just this week, some of people here on the feed know of what I speak of. Someone was generous enough to share that during our weight loss class, and there were so many people who said thank you for saying that, because they totally related. It just resonates. It can be a very dark place when you feel like the food has you, and you're not even enjoying it, but you're just feeling like you've lost control. So I think if people on the feed know of what Sharon speaks, just acknowledge that. But I can promise you that people know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So anyway, got through, and then I'll share how I met up with Rick. So I'll continue. That's part of the story later.
Good enough. Lot of good comments here. So many to try to represent. I just really call out to be read, Jen. Susan, one of our regulars, always thank you so much for being here with us, Susan. The only reason I'm still on HMR 19 months after I started is because I can eat until I'm satisfied every day, every time I eat. How fantastic is that? Shane had mentioned earlier, it can be a dark place, and that's, Sharon, exactly what you just said. Shane also wanted to know, and I want to wait till later. Jen and I kind of wanted this towards the end of this conversation, but what hooked you on the program? When did the light come on for you long term? Sort of getting into like what keeps you going. So by means of preview, Charlie and Sharon will sort of end on that conversation. Your why, if you will, your why, what your reasons are. Charlie, let's talk a little bit more about the holidays here. Holidays past, coming up. What are some strategies? Because you were very big in our conversations earlier about you do have a lot of strategies that work for you. What would you say about how you're approaching these holidays? And I think, sorry, one more perspective. Sharon, I love how you mentioned there's a box, whether you're in the decision-free medically supervised all HMR foods, or the healthy solutions, you add fruits and veggies, or you're in phase 2. And you're creating your own box of successful choices. To the audience here, you want to apply what's being said here to your box and your goals. If you're in phase 1, as Megan is, day 2, your goal should be to be in the box the weight loss box, because that's how you lose the most weight during the holidays. But if you're in phase 2, it's really just about keeping your choices structured and not falling into that mindless eating that's just so common. And I don't say that in any way, except for that's just the way it is these days. It's just easy to have mindless eating and not think about your food choices. And next thing you know, you're up 3 pounds. So anyway, Sharon, I wanted to reinforce that point about having people apply this conversation to whatever box you're working to be in during the holiday.
And I want to say I got to give one other plug, the HMR app. That is really what helps me every single day. I use the app to track my HMR foods. I mean, my water, my PA, my fruits and vegetables, my entrees, and that's what I do. My weight. And so it keeps me honest. And I mean, you can go back and look at how you've done. So if you're not using the HMR app, download it, go to the store and get that HMR app. It really works.
Yep. It's a very simple approach for staying on track. Yeah, there are other apps out there. We don't discourage people from using those if you want to track other foods that you're eating. But when things get tough and it's easy to get overwhelmed, the HMR app is a foundationally simple tool that will keep you in action around your food choices and around your exercise. So thanks for that plug on that. Charlie, back to you. The holidays, what more would you say about them?
I think one of the best things too is that I can be in phase 2, but eat in the box on phase 1. And that is one of the best parts about it. I know that sounds really weird to think that that's a revelation perhaps to people, but it is it was a revelation to me when they told me that I could do that. I have to be told all this stuff because my thinking goes in a different direction. So I'm really glad I'm learning from Sharon and from you guys today too. But so I've cooked whole holiday meals for other people with the things that they like. But I don't do that for myself. And what I do if I've done that, and I've gone to holiday celebrations like I mentioned before, where there's been other stuff, but I cook the stuff that I like the best for myself, and I make sure that I have all of that. And we talked about this the other day too. I don't lick my fingers. I don't taste the other food. I don't really want to taste the other food. And so it has to do with being prepared, and it also has to do with following some direction on special things. I mean, one of the things that I discovered from my group, this was not my original thought, was I can have baby carrots and cocktail sauce. And it's delicious. I mean, there are these things that I would never have thought about myself. I make ice cream. I found a brand of sugar-free syrup that has 0 calories. It's not just low in calories, but it's called Walden Farms. I'll share that. I'm not endorsing brand names or anything like that. It's just that syrup comes in flavors. And so if I make a shake with ice, all it is a regular old HMR shake with ice and put some of that syrup in there, I end up with ice cream that I can eat, you know? And so that's amazing. And the other thing, when Sharon I had a job where I traveled a lot too. And one of the great things about the HMR entrees, or at a holiday celebration, if I can't get it heated up, they're all vacuum packed. They'll last it's a great thing to have if we have a disaster, because they'll keep forever, I guess. I don't know how long they keep, but you don't even have to heat them up to eat them. That's right. So I don't know.
Room temperature.
Yeah, room temperature, and they're delicious that way too. But there are all these recipes, so anyway, could go on, but again.
Yeah, one thing that, Rick, if you don't mind, with both of you, it's just the commitment and being in control, whether you're in phase 1 or phase 2. I know that so many folks have been in a spot where they feel out of control, and when they're not where they want to be around their weight or their health, then it's just is like, well, there's so many things out there to do, and I'm just so discouraged. Why should I even try? but the hope message, and also whether you're in phase 1 or phase 2, this is the holiday season, but let's face it, there's going to be challenges every single day, multiple times in a day. And it's kind of how you go into it with an open mind of, okay, so if you're planning on being in the box, well, what is that going to look like? If I were to go to a Thanksgiving dinner, what would it have to look like for me to actually pull off meeting my minimums and being in the box? And same with phase 2. If you want to have some of those things that you enjoy at Thanksgiving because you're in phase 2, then what are those things that you need to do leading up to that event or even on that day? So
Yes.
it's not just leaving it up to chance. It's actually, well, what can I do that's in control of the outcome? Because there are absolutely things that you can do. And so you all spoke so eloquently about your strategies, and we have so many folks chiming in and joining us. And John, he joined and he's down 194 pounds. I mean,
Wow.
you guys are so inspirational as well, but just the feed and in this community, again, just so much success. And so hopefully everyone, no matter where you are in the program, you're feeling that there is hope and that you can do this and lean into the group and the support that you have. And so, I mean, we have so many folks, Yvette, Stacy, Marilyn, Terry, so many folks joining us.
I
And
like what Terry said here, Jen. So Charlie and Sharon, feedback for you. Very, very succinct, but very to the point. This is so helpful. Thanks.
yeah.
So again, more acknowledgement to just what you guys are sharing here. Really, really good.
Could I say one more thing about the
course.
holiday? I was self-conscious too about bringing the entrees, and it turns out nobody really cares.
No.
You know, they really don't care, and they might ask me, what is that? And all I do is tell them. I don't go into, well, it's, sometimes I do say it's HMR, it's delicious, would you like to try one? But you know, but they don't really pay that much attention. They're too wrapped up in what they're doing, you know. So
Yes. Yeah.
something that was a revelation to me.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You know, we think people are always watching us and concerned, and yet they're thinking about themselves just like we are. It's the way it works. Sharon, you were going to say something.
I was going to say Facebook Live, and I want to say a shout out to Shane, because Shane, you really helped me. You were on Facebook Live, and I even reached out to you. And so, and then I went back and I looked at your YouTube several times because I was starting to transition, and I was very fearful of transitioning because it was during COVID. That's when I started my transition. And I thought, oh, and Rick was on. So I said, oh, I want Rick. I want Coach Rick for my coach. Well, unbeknownst to me, I couldn't have Coach Rick as my coach because I was on decision free. And he says, oh no, you got to go back to the in-clinic program and do your transition there. And I'm like, I was really sort of ticked off, but I didn't tell him I was ticked off. And so anyway, I went back and I did the transition, and guess what? I went past my goal. I went to a weight that I had never, even as a baby, I didn't remember being that weight. And so I went all the way down to 114 pounds. What is that? What does that even look like? And so anyway, and then Bill, I said, Bill, I got to gain some weight. Bill says, I've never had any experience with anybody that needs to gain some weight. And so anyway, that's what happened. So you know what? You can transition, you can lose, you can maintain. COVID, I'm just here to tell you, I'm an example. I'm hardcore, compulsive overeater, hardcore. And I've been maintaining my weight. So I just wanted to let you know that.
And Shane is sending you a long distance hug, Sharon. He's wrapping his arms around you. And two, you guys, one thing is just not to give up, even if you have a bad day or something doesn't go as planned, or
Mhm.
it doesn't have to turn into the 6 months like Sharon, you were talking about. It could be just a moment that didn't go as planned, as you can get right back onto it.
Yep.
Wherever you are.
Absolutely. I like what Kate said, fellow health coach Kate. It's so clear that Sharon and Charlie love what they eat. She plans to be in the driver's seat this holiday season and make HMR recipes that she loves. And for those of you out there who may be newer to the program, Megan, again, if I'm saying that right, tastes are learned. Tastes are learned. It's just the way it is. Jennifer, how many people have you begun working with in this program who say, I don't like fruits and vegetables and I'm not going to eat them and I'll never like them? And they're eating 50 servings a week now. I mean, doesn't that happen all the time?
Yeah,
It
they're
happens
so
all-
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're involved in a support structure like what we provide at HMR, and when you have a program that keeps it simple, which may be our biggest advantage, you are able to take a break from the old behaviors that had you weighing more than you want to and give you some real practice, some real repetition and practice with new, healthy, low calorie behaviors that will have you weighing so much less than you ever weighed before. So if you're new, be patient, stick with the process. In fact, Charlie, a comment you made on Friday was it was something to the effect of the journey is the process, not the destination. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's I wanted to be able to walk on that trip when I went. I'm 69 years old now. I'm not as worried about my physical appearance as I used to be, although it is gratifying to have a different physical appearance. I'm not going to minimize that,
You're
but
human. Yep.
yeah, that's right. But the real thing is all this other benefit. But what's happened to me, and so the goal might have been different at the beginning, but now what's happened to me is that my goal is actually the journey. It's not about getting, if I ever got to the goal that I had set originally in HMR when I joined again this time, I'm about 15 pounds away from that goal. And I could understand, because I know other people in phase two who've had surpassed their goal. It could happen. I don't know. But I'm not really hung up on whether I reach the goal or whether I don't reach that weight loss goal, because I'm doing the right thing. And so the goal has become for me doing the right thing, going to my group, being honest in my group. And then results of whatever happens. And I don't think they'll be bad. I think they'll be good.
Right.
So my goal has become the journey, not the destination.
I love that. It's really great. Really great. Way to slow it down and look at the process as really the task. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Jen, I
Yeah,
want to make sure we turn the corner and, sort of end in a timely fashion here. What do you say we go back to Shane's question, which sort of spoke a little bit to the why? Do you want to lead us into that?
Yeah, I know, both Charlie and Sharon, you're both so committed, and you surely have your reasons for keeping up all the work that you're doing with the behaviors. And as we are ending, kind of nearing our end, really sharing what reasons that you're most in touch with. And I know Shane had mentioned, what had the light switch go on for you, or what had you kind of change from yo-yoing or going back and forth to being committed, and what is most valuable for you while you keep doing this work?
So for me, the triple imperative, and what do I mean by the triple imperative? Why do I do it? Is because I like the way I feel. I am not depressed. I have not had any episodes. Oh my gosh, the whole COVID time. And I'm going to doctors and people are saying how depressed people are during this whole time and how much weight people are gaining. And I haven't had to do that because of this program. I want to also say, I want to mention for people that have physical limitations, I had back surgery. So that was a physical limitation. What did I do? I went to aqua aerobics. I don't even know how to swim. I'm afraid of drowning. And that's what they told me. They said, I go, well, what can I do? My doctor goes, well, you can do water exercises. I'm like, no, to myself. And it took me a month. And then I asked my husband to go with me. So if you have any physical limitations, find what works for you. Because I had total shoulder replacement. Find what works for you, because PA is what will keep you, for me, at what my goal is.
Yep.
And
Physical
plus,
activity. Yep.
plus it's emotionally, you feel better.
Yeah,
So-
and it seems like, I know you've talked about when we spoke on Friday, how, you know, in your 70s, you feel like you just have a whole new lease on life, and that it's become a lifestyle change versus just something that you kind of turn on and off. So it's really great. And so how about for you, Charlie? What would you say is, you know, what do you feel like is your why, and what has you continuing to do this work as long as you've been doing it?
I like the way I feel too, and health is my I go to my doctor for my routine visits, and you know, and my health is good. It really is. So that's that's very important to me. I like being able to climb stairs on the cruise. I took some friends back to Philadelphia, and I've always been a walker in that city, and we walked 9 miles. They were all complaining about their feet, and I could have kept going, you know. So it's gratifying to me, and I've had so many blessings also. And this is kind of a little bit newer for me, but I've been blessed in so many other ways in my life that doing this thing that I'm living in here has never been my favorite thing. And yet other things, Sharon talked a little bit about some of the spiritual things too. To treat this in a better way than I have, and to have some respect for it, is kind of a new thing. To be able to look at it and not be displeased, and and that's not just because of the physical appearance. That's because of stuff that's happened. I think it has happened to me in my group, where I've gotten off track, and I come back. I call Bill. I come back to the group, and they don't ever criticize. They just have compassion for me. I think some of that stuff that from the other people that I know in HMR, not just the coaches who always have that, but also my group members, maybe it's rubbing off on me for myself. I don't feel as judgmental about myself. I don't know. I'm babbling on and on here, and I'm trying to articulate something that I'm not real good at articulating, but it has to do with all of that stuff. It's a mind, body, spirit, and a lot of it is the spiritual thing for me now.
Yep. I think that being judgmental, it's very common, and everyone does it, and others do it to the others as well. And it's not very productive. So I think we all can relate to that there's a little freedom in there, and sort of letting some of that judgment go, Charlie. And it's easier to do that when you're doing what you're doing, Sharon, what you're doing as well, which is you're really engaging in so many successful behaviors that maybe it gives you a little bit more command on dropping some of that judgment and bias that's just so easy to have about, our own progress in this area.
Well, I want to share, I hope she's on, a shout out that I had some extra HMR entrees, and I took them over to my friend Gigi. She took hold of those entrees. Next thing I know, Gigi has joined the HMR at home program. Mm-hmm. Gigi has now lost over 10 pounds. And what she's saying, she's on Healthy Solutions. She says, I'm eating all the time. She says, I love it. She says, and I have a sweet tooth, and I can use my syrups, and she sends me pictures of her plate of what she's cooked for herself.
Fantastic.
And he just ordered an exercise bike. So she is really into the program. Coach Sandy, thank you very much
All
for
right.
helping my friend Gigi.
All right. Shout out to Coach Sandy. That's great. And to you, Sharon, for being an agent of change.
Yeah, it's
For
a diamond.
impact on people around you. And I know I could say the same thing to you, Charlie. I'm going to sort of turn the corner here, Jen, because the time is nigh for us to sort of wrap it up. I only have one final question. The first is, you guys have alluded to it a bit, but, you know, Charlie, you said on Friday, I feel better at 70 than I did at 50. And I don't know what I would feel like now without the weight that I've lost with HMR. And Sharon, the quote that stuck with Jen and I was, this is a lifestyle change. And at 72, HMR has given me a new lease on life. And I would be remiss to not represent from the comment section. You ready, Sharon, for this? From Dick. Sharon is not in her 70s. No way. Fake news. So anyway,
Thank you.
yeah. Here's the question we're going to end on tonight. If someone were to take away one theme from this discussion or from your experience in the program, one theme, what would you hope that they would get from either this conversation or from what you've taken away from the program yourself? So just think about it for a minute. One theme. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but let's bring the goods here as part of summarizing the call. What is one thing that you would hope that you could impart to people who are also on the same journey that you're on? Charlie, any thoughts there?
Well, I think we've really established that the program, you get success with physical stuff. But I think the other thing that I think of is love, honestly. The amount of love that I've gotten from my coach and from my group, and now the amount of love I've been able to feel more for myself, I guess, is something. And I don't know, it's weird probably, but it's true.
Well, it's a fundamental element of self-care, I think, Charlie, and you've hit on it in many ways tonight. And I think we know what you mean when you say that. It's great. Give yourself a break, everyone, but keep working hard. I think I would sort of capture it that way. Sharon, what about you? What's the takeaway that you'd hope people would get from this?
Self-love. Love yourself enough to do this program. Love yourself enough to put yourself first. So many times we are cooking for our families, and then that's where we, you know, for lack of a better word, we eat something that we've cooked for them. Well, guess what? Love yourself enough to say, you know what? That's for them, but I'm going to love myself enough that I'm going to do this for myself. And that's what I do. Today, I love myself. Before, I didn't love myself. I used food. That's where my love was. It was food. So love yourself enough to do it for yourself.
Great.
And that's what I would say.
It's great. Boy, you both kind of landed on the same topic. Jen, you know, we're going to be talking in a few weeks about this very point, that being that it can sometimes feel almost selfish to put yourself at a higher level of priority, your weight, your lifestyle, your health management. But the truth of the matter is, if you do that, you're actually able to show up in a more powerful way for the people in your life if you're feeling more powerful about yourself. So that's a teaser for what we're going to cover in a few weeks. But I think both of you sort of covered that right there with the points that you just made. Excellent stuff. You're getting a lot of acknowledgement, guys, from the community. This has really been tremendous.
It has. And I hope it's been really helpful for everyone that's joining and who's going to watch back. And you can watch it as many times. And it's not just relevant during the holiday season. It's any time that you're trying to make changes with your behavior around your weight and your health. And I also want to make sure that if I know many folks are part of our private closed Facebook community, but make sure if you're not to check it out, because the support that Charlie and both Sharon have really been talking about, you're going to get in that group as well. And I know some folks have already talked about some things that they're struggling with. Put it in that group. And how you'll find this group is by looking at HMR. So you'll search on Facebook, HMR Diet Community Support. You'll have to answer a few questions and then you'll get on into that group and
Right.
really get that support. So glad you guys joined us. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for your time, everyone. And thanks again to you, Charlie and Sharon. Everyone, have a good night. Have a good week. And we're going to end with a new element. Please, for those of you watching, let us know if you like this. We're going to end on a song. And Jen, you picked tonight's song, but I think that we would like to ask our community to tell us what you think the song should be that we go out on in future events like this. So with that,
Good.
here we go. Talk soon.